Start by summarising your brilliant 2025.
Yep.
What have you done last year?
So we had a really good year last year. So I was just saying to Leon off before that our goal originally was 20 sales. And then we bumped it up to 30 sales, and then we bumped it up to 40 sales. And then I had a chat with my wife and she said, well, why don't you do one per week and make it 52 sales? I was like, okay, well, that would be nice. And then we ended up finishing the year with 57 sales and our last sale just before Chrissy.
Wow. So that's averaging more than one per week.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. That's very impressive for your first year with RayWhite. Yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
So, okay. So tell us about your background and how you got to today. Yep.
So I knew I was one of those kids where you would grow up and you knew what you wanted to do straight away. I was that young kid around the table with mum and dad when they were buying and selling property. We'd have real estate agents come to our house and they'd be interviewing agents, and I'd be that kid listening and wanting to say, that's my dream job. So basically from school, when I finished, I got straight into it and I haven't really done anything else. I definitely jumped around a little bit at the start, but then I found my feet in obviously the area we're in. And then it sort of just began from there.
So how many years have you been doing
So
this?
it's 11 years actually in April.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And have you counted how many deals you've done along the years?
No, I actually haven't. That's a good question.
Yeah?
I have not, no. I did last year and the year prior, but I could say it's over, I mean, the last 2 years it's over 100 sales. So,
yeah.
And then I assume in the last multiple years it'd be probably close to 150 to 200.
Wow.
But I'd say in the last 3 years we did a lot more sales than we did 4 to 5 years ago.
But among all these sales, of course, I'm pretty sure you will have one most memorable sale.
Yes,
Which one was that?
Funnily enough, it was a property when I first started, and it was in Willoughby, and I was working with a lady called Rawa, and she's
still in Willoughby.
Still in Willoughby,
yeah,
still
yeah.
a very good agent.
Yeah.
And I was door knocking, and I met this lovely family, and they said, we just had an agent in. And I said, well, can we come in? And she's like, yes, if you can come in the next hour. So Rawa and I popped in within the hour. We signed it up an hour later. We took photos the next day, and it was sold within a week. So it was quite funny, from door knock to listing to selling. It was the fastest thing I've ever done, but it was quite memorable because they were such a lovely family. But the turnaround from getting a listing to selling a listing, and as everyone knows that's probably watching this, to getting a listing is very, very hard. It's years of prospecting and years of chasing people, and the turnaround of getting that would be every agent's dream.
And that was your first deal?
That was my first sale. Yeah,
that's
my first
very
sale.
Easy start.
Yeah. I actually thought it was. Yeah, I thought it was really easy. Yeah, I was like, okay, well, this is fairly straightforward. This is not hard. It's not rocket science. And then you realize you keep hitting more doors, and it continues on, but it's very much a long-term thing. You build the relationships, and they take 2 to 3 years. I've had clients that I've been talking to for 7, 8 years, and they're only just paying off now.
Because you moved from across teams, right? You're with Stone last year. Sorry, the year before.
Yeah, 2024.
Yeah. So now you are with RayWhite Roseville.
Yeah, RayWhite up North Shore.
So what's the biggest difference that you can tell me?
Look, you know what? I get asked this question all the time, and I say, look, it's very dependent on you as a person. A big thing. I think, look, having a good structure in place is super important, but having the support and having people around you to help when you need, makes a big difference. I mean, right now, my team, I'm very lucky. We've got Pat in my team, we've got Aiden in my team, we've got Bobby, right? So I feel like from what we can offer our clients, like I feel like we've got one of the best teams, right? We've got a multilingual Bobby, obviously, who we know is very good. Pat, who's been in the industry for 11 years, and Aiden, who I would say is probably one of the best prospectors in the area. He gets into every single door. And
being with a new team, what's your goal for this year? 2 per week?
No. You know what I said to the guys when we first started the year, and they said, well, what do we want to do? And I said, you know what, selling that many properties is very hard. It's very taxing. But I said, if we can do 40 sales, but we can move our price point up a little bit, that would be nice.
Right.
But look, it started off, as we all know from you on the buying side, it started off as quite a tough year.
Yeah.
We're definitely seeing things are going to be a little bit harder. So if we can hit 40 sales, I'll be really happy.
Yeah, good. Okay. Since you touched on the market, let's talk about market a little bit more, because it is turning into a buyer's market a little bit.
Good for you guys.
It's also very tough.
Yeah.
This side
of
the
course.
glass.
Yeah.
Right now, what is your view towards the market? Being in February, we're still in quarter one.
Yeah.
Do you see where the market's heading to? It's a pretty tricky question.
Yeah, very hard to answer.
Based on what you see.
Look, what we're seeing, I guess, on the ground is that it's like numbers through opens are definitely lower. Supplies at an all-time high. I think we worked out it was 15% higher this year than versus last year. So I think in terms of numbers and properties on the market, there's a lot more in competition. So I think between, call it 3 to 5 million, which is generally the stuff that we sell, I would say there's more listings than we've ever seen. So from a buyer's point of view, there's no urgency to buy because they go, well, why do we need to buy a property off you when we can go buy one off another one, or we can go look at something else that you've got. They've got multiple options. So I'm definitely seeing a balanced market. There's still some good results. And I think if you can get lucky and you can get the right buyer and your owners are motivated and they want to sell, you'll get things across the line. But I think if there's a discrepancy between the owners wanting a price and people seeing value, it's very hard to put deals together.
Yeah. So what's your advice for buyers these days? Because we're still seeing buyers missing out, right?
Yeah,
there's only one buyer for one house.
Yeah.
So what's your advice for them?
I think asking the right questions. A guide price, as we all know, sometimes doesn't represent what the actual selling price is, unfortunately, and that's just a market thing. I think getting an understanding of the market, and it's a funny question actually to think about. Like I was actually talking to the boys about it the other day. A lot of the buyers that we're seeing that are coming into the market now, they're all new faces. Okay. So interestingly, not all of them, but a lot of new faces, and I think that they need to see sales and they need to see things in the area that are going to give them confidence to say, okay, well, one around the corner sold for 4 million, for example, and they're saying these guys are guiding 4. We need some social proof that the sale's happening, which right now there isn't. So I think it's making buyers very nervous to make offers. So what we're seeing, and I'm seeing anyway, and with auction campaigns, we're seeing people say, well, we'll just come to auction and we'll see how it goes, or you just let us know if there's an offer. There's no real urgency, whereas I think this time last year, 12 months ago, there was a lot more urgency for buyers to buy.
So if you don't try, you don't get.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And so you're saying you're seeing more new faces, more new buyers.
Yep.
This year compared to end of last year.
Yeah. Okay. For sure. Yeah. I think a mix of like people just want to always buy at the start of the year. It's a nice time to buy. There's a lot more property on. There's a lot more choice. I think people are looking not so much in, I always think that if you're looking in these areas from where we are anyway, from Roseville to Gordon, it's generally quite a similar market. But we're noticing that buyers are starting to look further down the line and further up the line because there's a lot more choice. And they're saying, well, if we can find something else that maybe in an ideal location, for example, or Willoughby or Turramurra, and they can find something, they'll look further up the line or down the line.
Yeah. For people who want to sell this year, what's your advice for them?
I think now don't sell if you're not going to right now. I think in a sense of, I'm joking. I'm joking. I think if people are on the market now, I think, look, if you're thinking of putting it on the market, I think there's enough stock on the market now where I think you've got to wait a little bit. I think if people are wanting to sell right now and they're not on the market, I think wait until closer to April to May. I think we're going to see, I would think, less stock on during school holidays in April, and I think it's probably not a bad time to consider then because it hopefully gives them less competition. I think for the current stock that's on, things will sell, and I think some prices will be good, and I think then there's going to probably be some average prices. It just depends on, again, the motivation of owners. We're going to see a lot of properties, I would think, not selling and possibly withdrawing and then possibly coming back on maybe with another agent or possibly coming back on later at the end of the year. I think it's going to be a very mixed bag.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a very direct question.
Yeah.
So compared to last year, do you think the vendor expectations are adjusting, or are they still a little bit gap?
Again, depends on the motivation of the vendor. If they're bought, sure. Look, I would say the vendor's expectations are sometimes set by the agent, unfortunately. And I think that comes back to whether the agent is buying the business or wanting to go in and actually do the right thing and tell them what it's worth. Unfortunately, you do that and sometimes you lose a listing, right? So it becomes a little bit hard. So I think you've got to do the right thing. And if vendors will understand the market, they will, they'll listen and they'll meet the market. If not, I think that sometimes it's just better to hold off and wait and see some more sales. Yeah.
Okay. Look, when it comes to sales, usually I think there are 3 P's that's very important.
Yeah.
Plan, prep, and pricing.
Yeah, very true.
Which one do you reckon is most important?
Plan.
In this market.
Plan.
Okay.
Yeah, plan. I think you can't go out looking without a plan, right? Like I think pricing will come second and the rest will come third. But I think if you don't have a plan in today's market, you just won't end up anywhere. You'll be everywhere and anywhere. I think you've got to pin down on areas you want to look in, I would think. I mean, you guys know this better than me from the buying side, but pin down on areas you want to look in, pin down in the right locations, because, you know, if you're looking, for example, in Linfield, or you're looking in Killara, Roseville, there's 4 or 5 different markets within that one suburb, right? So if you want to go to the East Linfield, or, for example, East Killara, they're all very different markets. You know, we all probably know that East Linfield's probably, I'd think, one of the strongest markets within the area at the moment we're seeing. But if you go, we can't get there, but we don't think we can afford Linfield, well, you can go to the other section of Linfield, right? So there's different markets within the market.
Something different.
Yep.
I know an agent is being an agent is your childhood dream job, but what would have you done if you're not doing this?
You know what? Everyone always asks me this question, and honestly, I never thought of anything else other than being a real estate agent. I don't know, that sounds really cliche, but it honestly was. I didn't ever think of anything. I mean, now having a daughter and, possibly more kids and whatnot, maybe a stay-at-home dad. No, I wouldn't be a stay-at-home dad. I'll go crazy. Honestly, I haven't ever thought of anything else. Like, this is it. This is it. It's like, if I don't make this, then I'm not doing anything else. It's like, I have to make this. That's why we've worked so hard.
It's a tough job. Well, you mentioned now you're a dad, right?
Yep.
So how old is your daughter? 1, 2?
She's 2 in May.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Yeah, I know. Crazy.
How are you finding juggling between different roles? Dad, agents.
Yeah, tough. I think everyone would agree. Yeah, I think everyone would agree. Running a team, doing selling, being there for vendors and being available, which is my biggest thing. It's like, communication to clients is so important, and then being present at home and being a dad and being a good husband. It's all a mix of it, right?
Yeah.
You got to, I guess, put the time into each of the things. I can't say I'm that good at it all.
Which one is your favorite role?
I'd say
be careful.
Yeah, I know. Of course, my wife. Being a dad, being a mix of dad and wife. I mean, I love work and everything, and work is a big thing for me. But ultimately, family is the most important, right? I think everyone would agree.
That's it.
Sane people, anyway, would agree.
Good answer.
Yeah.
And safe and cost.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
One last question.
Yep.
Apart from the normal routines, right, at the open homes.
Yes.
For example, turning on the lights, cleaning up the gardens, etc. Is there a particular thing you do as a lucky thing? At each open.
I wouldn't say each open, but what I do is I wear a lucky suit on a day where I feel like it's going to be a possible sale. So, for example, as an auction, I wear a suit. I won't tell you. You can have a look on social media and you can see if there's auctions and you'll see what colour suit it is. I wear a particular coloured suit, and then I wear that same suit, for example, if I know that we're negotiating on a property and I think that we're going to do a deal. I wear that same suit, and no joke of a lie, every time I wear that suit, we've sold a property at auction. We've never not sold, and we've sold the property. So I think it's a lucky suit. The problem is I'm putting on a bit of weight, so it's not fitting that well. So I need to get it.
I can't see it because we're always on the phone.
Yeah.
I can't see what you're wearing.
I know. Well, exactly. That's true. That's true. After coming here and show you, but no, if you see me at the next auction and you see that the suit, you'll have a laugh. But I always wear that same thing. It just, for me, I feel like it works, and it's probably a very minor thing, but I like it.
Very good. Very good. Okay, I think that's.
Cool.
Man, it's very smooth.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.